Almost 500,000 people have left their homes as huge areas of eastern India are evacuated. Cyclone Phailin, with winds of 135 miles an hour, was described as very severe as it swept through the Bay of Bengal and reached landfall in the last few hours. Fasma Manji has the latest.
The nation watched anxiously as Cyclone Phailin hit, forcing its way inland, covering an area the size of France. Even before the cyclone closed in, the distress had begun, as rain and wind lashed through, cutting power lines and causing trees to collapse. 600,000 people began to move inland. A disturbing journey for young and old. Despite being urged to evacuate, some still stayed behind.
I've come to take shelter to save myself from the cyclone. My son has had to stay back with his wife to look after our cattle and our belongings, and I don't know if they're safe.
Cyclone Phailin had been steadily building over the last 40 hours in the Bay of Bengal. It's now made landfall, hitting close to the town of Gopalpur, reaching winds of around 130 miles per hour with a storm surge of at least 3 meters. In the densely populated states of Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, 12 million people are expected to be affected. Many who live in mud huts are now taking refuge in makeshift shelters. In this schoolhouse in the village of Sibalaya, 20 miles from the coast, 200 people are crammed in, receiving food from local emergency officials.
I've come here with my family. Our house has been destroyed.
This is one of the largest evacuations in India's history. The army and emergency services have already been deployed. In 1999, a cyclone hit the same region with little warning, killing 10,000 people. Authorities say they are better prepared this time, with 2 warships, boats and aircraft standing by for any rescue operations.
All of our responders have arrived on scene with equipment to deal with floods. They've brought cutting tools and we have state-of-the-art equipment. Each of them will be able to provide first-aid medical treatment.
For the next 4 hours, Cyclone Phailin will be at its most intense. But the heavy rain and winds will continue for days. With 25 centimetres of rainfall expected in places, thousands are likely to be displaced. Providing basic supplies will be a challenge.
First priority after the cyclone hits in the next coming days would be drinking water, followed by hygiene kits. And then, we know that government is going to provide cooked food in the cyclone shelters for 2 days. But we fear that 2 days cooked food may not be enough, and that cooked food may need to be provided for about a week.
So far, at least 5 people have been killed. And as the storm continues overnight, millions will be anxiously praying that preparations to keep them safe will be enough.
And for the latest on the cyclone, as the storm surge continues to lash eastern India, go to our website, channel4.com/news. Well, actually, let's go to the latest now. And joining us on the line is Karma Paulyor from CNN IBN in India, in Brahmapur, in the Odisha region. Thanks for joining us, Karma. What can you tell us? What's the latest there?
Well, the storm is, at its peak right now. We are told outside the wind speeds are upwards of 200 kilometers per hour. So you can just imagine the kind of destruction that it's leaving behind. Gopalpur is the epicenter, is where the Cyclone Phailin landed. And we are about 15 kilometers from Gopalpur. We were there in the morning. We reached at about 3 a.m. in the morning. And after that, we did to go around talking to locals, finding out. The problem is some of the fisher folk, they moved to the cyclone, their shelter, cyclone shelters. But there are many people who are stubborn, who refuse to move out of their homes, thinking that their homes would be strong enough and could weather this Category 4 cyclone. But I really fear for them because we are about 15 kilometers away. We thought we were staying in a relative safety of a hotel. And our hotel is falling apart because, the windows are breaking, the front facade is broken. So if a modern building, and this building is said to be about 3 years old, can take a brunt of these, they can't take the brunt of these winds, I really fear for the people. And the picture will only be clear in the morning, because there's no way that we can go out, and get a visual of the destruction.
Where have these 500,000 people gone? When you say they've gone to shelters, what are you talking about?
In coastal Andhra Pradesh, in coastal Odisha, post the terrible 1999 storm, the government has built storm shelters in the higher reaches, which are relatively safe from the coast. So these storm shelters are where people have gone. Hundreds of storm shelters were built. In areas where the storm shelters are not there, the people have been moved to say, a school building or a college, which is further away from the coast. And these buildings are relatively more safe, far more safer than what the fisher folk live in, which is just a shack.
Kama, thank you very much indeed for that update.